Today I'm going to walk you through how to use Dave Ramsey's budgeting software EveryDollar. I've been using it for years. This is how to get the most out of it in under 10 minutes. There are timestamps below if you want to jump ahead. Leave your questions in the comments. Let's get started. Okay, so here's a sample budget I created. Whenever you start a new budget in EveryDollar, it's going to automatically give you, the first time it's going to give you some sample items, but I've created this to kind of show some basic expenses that everyone has. And before we get into this, please subscribe to get more videos like this and to get some videos on how to teach your kids about money. Real quick, the reason that I prefer EveryDollar to other budgeting apps, especially the automated budgeting apps like Mint, is because, as you'll see in a moment, you do have to drag every purchase into every category, so you see every purchase. And as far as finance being a behavioral thing, that's extremely important. And because of how EveryDollar is set up, you're gonna see a little bit of my actual budget items in here because I use EveryDollar. I'm in a future month. Right now it is November, and I jumped ahead to February because I plan ahead, so I had to jump that far to show you guys what it looks like with a budget template. And I would just show you my actual budget and go that route. I'm not shy about it, but I don't know if that would be more helpful or more confusing. So this is how I've done it with a template. So here we go. At the top here, you can see February 2021, and if you click on this drop down, you'll see all the months. It's going to have a solid outline if you've already started planning for that month, and there's going to be a dashed line if you haven't started planning yet. Here we are. I'm going to stay in February, and you'll notice that there's different groups here. So you have income, giving as a group, investing and saving, housing as a group, transportation, all these. You can see the arrow if you want to hide any of them, just to make it a little more concise, and so you can see a specific category if you're looking for that. And then last thing I would show you is down here you can download as a CSV, so you can see all your transactions and everything in an Excel document there. If you want to add a group, you go down here to add group, and then you can title it whatever you want to title it. We're just going to call it new group, and then click off, and then add item, new group item. On the right side you're going to see a pie chart, and it's going to have all of your categories broken down. You can see your planned amounts over here. You can see how much you've spent in each category, and then you can see what's remaining in every category. So everything's remaining right now because we haven't started working with it yet. And then up here on the top you can see how much you have left to budget. It'll show you how much you have left or how much you are over your budget, or you'll get a nice little "it's an EveryDollar budget" green check mark if everything is completely zeroed out. So EveryDollar is a zero-based budgeting model, so you spend every penny on paper or in the app before you actually spend the money. But I don't want to spend too much time showing you how to add items. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You click on the item and you title it, and then you put your amount in there. Up here in the Paychecks, make sure that is just pay that you have coming in. I've seen people put investments up there or savings. If they put $2,000 in savings, that goes down below. That does not go in the paycheck area. So right now we have paycheck 1, $2,500, paycheck 2, $2,500, and then let's say we want to add a paycheck, other income. Maybe you have a side job and it pays about $200 a month. So you add that in there, and you see our left to budget increased by $200 up here because we haven't put that in any categories yet. Now over on the right, if you click on transactions, you'll see I've added some transactions in here already, so I can show you how the drag and drop works and how easy it is. So I can go ahead and drag the income in here. And then down here under restaurant, it cost our family about $100 with our 5 kids. So that's a typical restaurant tab. Drag it in there. You'll see $300 remaining. And if you click on that amount, you'll see how much you spent. So we spent $100 in restaurants so far. We have $300 remaining. So in the transactions area here, if you connect your accounts, I have EveryDollar Premium, so I definitely love having my accounts connected. You'll see your transactions pop up and they'll all load in here. If you have previous transactions that you haven't budgeted yet, haven't put into a category, you can click on Load September Transactions down here and it'll load those for you. Then over here you can see everything that you've already tracked, you can see anything you've deleted, and you can see any pending charges that may be coming in but haven't posted yet. Okay, so the budget itself seems pretty easy. You add your paychecks, you add your budget items, but I do want to talk for a moment about funds because they are a little different. So since I jumped ahead to February, it's not going to let me actually edit this fund. It doesn't allow you to jump ahead. It says right here, no jumping ahead. You can only update the balance for the current month. So just know that if you're not able to update the balance, it's because you're not in the current month. But I already had our emergency fund here is $10,000 for our personal emergency fund. And that's still in here, planned 0 because we've already hit the goal. But let's say you want to start a new fund. I'm a big advocate for having a self car payment. So instead of paying car payments and paying interest, you pay yourself in an interest-bearing account until you save up the money to buy your new car. So we'll call this the car fund. And we'll say we spend $200 a month on this fund. So now you'll see that the planned amount is $200, remaining is $200. And if you make it a fund, you can put your starting balance here if you've already added some to it, and then you have your amount that you plan for each month. Now this is important about funds. You don't want to add anything to the fund as far as whenever you're hitting that savings goal and putting that $200 into savings, you don't want to add that here. You don't want to drag it because it's going to automatically calculate it. If you have $200 under planned, every month it's going to increase by $200. The only time you would want to drag something into a fund is if you spent money out of that fund. So say you had a vacation fund and you saved $100 a month for vacation, and then you went on a vacation and spent $500, you would then drag the expenses into that fund and it would take the money out. Because if you have that $200 deduction that went into your savings for your car fund and you drag it into the fund, it's going to take the $200 out of that fund, and that's not what you want. So you would just delete those transactions whenever the money comes out because it's going to automatically calculate it for you. Here's some basic expenses. You have miscellaneous, I think, is an extremely important category because some things just don't fit in any category. You have, say, a Netflix account, Audible account, your phones, whatever you have, you put them all here. If I make a special purchase for the month that is a one-time thing, then I actually add it in as its own item. So for example, we just bought beds for our kids from IKEA. So I would add that in, and then we'll say it costs $200. I add that in as a special category, and then the next month I just delete that category because I want to know if I'm spending a large amount of money on something other than my general expenses. Another thing I like to do with EveryDollar is we have our kids in here. So all of our kids are listed and we pay them for their chores. And the way we do it is we have the planned amount based on how much money they get for the month. So let's say your kid gets $1 a day. You say there's 30 days in the month, then you would just put $30 in the fund for that month. And it's ongoing, so whenever they make purchases, you can take those purchases out and it deducts their total amount. But if you let that number keep going, then it shows their savings over here and how much money they've saved. One more thing I would add, if you have money left over at the end of the month, what do you do with that money? So if you have debt, that's where that would go. If you're on baby step 1 and you don't have your $1,000 in emergency savings yet, then you would get your $1,000 first, of course. So that's where any extra money is going to go to whatever baby step you're on if you're following the baby steps. But in general, if you have debt, I would put that money towards the debt. But we don't have debt, so the way I do it, if you don't have any extra debt to pay off and you have the extra money left over, I don't want to lose track of this $37.03. So I actually add it in as income to the next month just so I can track it. I like to do it like that so that I know where that $37 went. So $37.03 left to budget, and we'll say that we're done for the month and we've already spent all of our money. I like to go into each category and change it to the actual amount that we spent. So let's say we only spent $300 on groceries this month. I would change that to $300, and I would go down and change all of the planned amounts to the amount that I actually spent that month. And then I would see what my surplus is. So now we have $137.03. So I would go to the next month, start playing for March, and then I would put it in there as February overflow, whatever the month was prior. So that's how I budget with EveryDollar. Hopefully you got a lot out of this. Hopefully I answered some questions. I know the funds are a common thing, and not being able to plan ahead or edit old months, only being able to work on the current months, those things are issues that people have. So hopefully you got something out of this. Please subscribe to get more videos on family finances.